Sure. So we have something called action bias. And this is the tendency to want to do something, anything in the face of pressure. So normally when there's no pressure, when there's no time constraint, we have a status quo bias, which is we have a tendency to not make changes. But when there is some kind of pressure component, when the headlines are flashing, this is happening today, oh my God, the sky is falling, we have what's called an action bias. And there was some really cool research that looked at how this manifests. And the researchers looked at soccer goalkeepers during penalty shootout situations. And what they found was 94% of the time under a penalty shot situation, they're diving to the left or the right. So they're basically always diving. And what's funny is if you analyze the shot trajectory, what the researchers found was had these guys simply stayed in the middle and did nothing, they would have stopped way more shots, win more games, and presumably make more money. Now, if you were to go and tell those goalkeepers, listen, did you know that if you stood in the middle, you would block more shots, win more games, make more money? They will still dive to the left or the right. Why? Because they are being highly scrutinized by all the fans in the stand. And they're all saying, you better do something under this high pressure situation. And we often know that sometimes the best thing to do is stick to the plan that you developed, looking and taking into account that things change, variables change. The problem is if you went to someone and say, listen, just don't do anything, things will play out, you come across as being flippant and you come across as if you're not hearing the concerns that people have. So for example, in the world of wealth management, the soccer goalie, it's the financial advisor whenever the markets are in the news. And so their clients are saying, you're that goalie, you better do something. And the standard sort of rhetoric is we have to stick to the plan that we created, this long-term financial plan, this long-term investment policy statement, which says we know things are volatile in the short term. And the trade-off is over the long term, there's the potential of higher returns. So we have to just stick to the plan. The problem is that comes across as being flippant. So what do you do? How do you circle this sort of square or address this paradox? You can do something while also still sticking to the plan, which might be not making a change to those plans. And that is bringing that client in and having that conversation again about everything you talked about when you built that plan in the first place, because they've forgotten it. They've forgotten it about 20 minutes after you told it to them 5-10 years ago. We live in a bubble where this is the thing that we think about all the time. And we forget that sometimes those clients, they don't have that same perspective. So you can bring them in, having meaningful conversation with them and walk them through those steps over again. You have now done something to address their emotional pain while still staying true to your long-term plan.